Hola, welcome. Thank you so much for being here with us tonight. My name is Fabi, and I am the enrollment specialist here at Mis Amigos. And today I'm here to introduce you to Dawn Uribe. She is our CEO and owner of Mis Amigos, a Spanish immersion preschool. For over 20 years, she has been helping moms return to work without feeling guilty or excited, knowing that the kids are in a love and a safe place. Dawn is going to share 3 things that are absolutely must when you're choosing a childcare provider. Please feel free to leave any questions or comments here down below in the chat, and we'll review those at the end for questions that we may have. Welcome, Dan. All for you.
Thank you, Fabi. I'm going to start with a little bit of a story. And here's a picture of me with my second baby in the rocking chair at the end of a long night. So I'm sitting there in this rocking chair. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm rocking my sweet little baby boy, and he is finally asleep. His eyes are finally closed. I wait long enough to hear the sleep breathing, and I get up and walk across the room as quietly as I can, avoiding that one floorboard that squeaks so he doesn't hear any noise. I lay him down as carefully as I can into the crib, and he stays asleep for 1 second. And then those eyes fly open and he starts crying again. And I was like, no, I can't do this anymore. I'm so exhausted. I am so tired, and I just need to go to sleep. So I'm sure that if you are parents, that you have had a similar night, and maybe even some of you have experienced that tonight or yesterday. I love being a mom, and I have always wanted to be a mom. And I had amazing role models. And I think it is my greatest honor and my greatest role in life to be a good mom to my 2 boys. And it was hard. It was way, way harder than I ever thought it would be. And my entire world revolved around sleeping and waking and changing diapers and making food and serving food and finding play dates. And I was just losing myself. I wasn't using my brain in ways that excited me. And it was just exhausting. And I just couldn't do it anymore. Well, I could have, but I didn't feel like I could do it anymore. I had this huge feeling of guilt about going back to work and doing something that fulfilled me. I had a career before my kids, and I did computer programming and consulting, and I loved it. But my plan was always to stay at home once I had kids. My husband had a good job. I was able to stay at home, and that was the expectation my family had for me too. But I found that I just couldn't do it anymore. But how could I leave these things that were just the very most precious things in the whole world to me? How could I trust them to somebody else? So I just turned this over and over in my mind. And in the end, I found a way that I could ease my guilt. If I could find a childcare center that could give them something that I couldn't personally give them, then I would feel better about it. I wouldn't feel so guilty. So when we first moved to Minnesota in 1994, I heard about Spanish immersion for the very first time, and I loved the idea. I didn't have kids yet, but I knew that that was something that I wanted for my kids. My boys' grandparents are originally from Mexico, so they only spoke Spanish in that house. And my husband then and their dad was not speaking to them at all. And he wasn't teaching them that language that his own parents spoke. So one, I think it's really important to have a relationship with your grandparents. And two, it is a huge gift to be able to speak another language when you are young. And I didn't learn until I was in high school. And so I really, really wanted that for my kids. And I thought, well, if he's not going to do it, then I've got to find another way. So, so I thought, well, maybe I could try. I could try to be a stay-at-home mom and speak only in Spanish with my terrible accent and my lack of some vocabulary. But I didn't know how to be a mom in Spanish. I don't know the songs that you sing. I don't know the rhymes that you repeat. I don't know how to play patty cake in Spanish. What are the lullabies? I don't know any of that. So I needed someone who was born into that language, someone whose mother and grandmother sang those same songs to her. So I decided that I was going to figure out how to make a Spanish immersion childcare center. I had never heard of it before. I didn't think that there were any other schools out there or available. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't have any experience, and I didn't have education in education. But I thought if it was something that I wanted for my own kids, that somebody else must also want it for their kids. So for the first time in a while, it gave me something to think about and to be excited about. So I set about doing that. And in the meantime, I discovered Mis Amigos Preschool. They were just a half-day program then, just preschool. And my son attended starting in 2004. And then the following year, when the founders were ready to move on, I purchased a school for them. So my oldest son had his last year of preschool there, and I was still working out the details of how this childcare center might work out. So in the last 20 years, I have learned all about preschool. I've learned all about childcare centers, and I know all the rules inside and out, and I know what buildings are supposed to look like and what equipment is supposed to be in the rooms. I know what makes a good childcare center and how to spot the red flags. So for the next few minutes, I want to share some of that knowledge that I've gained over the past 20 years and show you how that you can make those decisions for yourself. Because I believe that every child deserves to be safe, to be loved, and to be inspired. And we have served thousands of families by providing this exceptional childcare experience, and gave them the thing that I couldn't give my own children, and that is immersing them in the Spanish language. So I'm going to teach you what I wish I knew when my kids were little. There are 3 things that I think are non-negotiables when you are choosing your caregiver, whether that's a child care center or a nanny or an in-home child or daycare. There are 3 things that needs to be met. 1, is it safe? 2, do they serve healthy food? And 3, do the teachers seem happy? So the first non-negotiable, is it safe? So why is this important? I think we all know why. I don't think that there's anything that can scare moms and dads more. Is my child going to be safe when they're with somebody else? How can we trust that this precious being that is so important to us, how can we leave them into the hands of somebody else? You want a caregiver who is going to take that responsibility very seriously. So we've all seen horror stories on the news where really bad things have happened, but the good news is that those types of stories make the news because they're really rare. And there are some other smaller, non-obvious ways that your child might not be as safe if you expect them to be, but we really don't have to worry in general about those big things. That is definitely not the norm. The state has lots and lots of rules about how daycare providers should take care of kids. So there's like 3 levels of there's 3 levels that I would talk to you about. So kind of the basic level is just getting your license from the Department of Human Services. So that's really all about health and safety. Is your building safe? Do you have enough toys? Are people washing their hands? Is there ventilation? Are things clean? It's all about things to keep kids safe. Then the next level is like Parent Aware, which is our quality rating system here in Minnesota. Other states have different rating systems as well. But that looks at your curriculum and it looks at teacher qualifications to see if you're doing a good job of educating kids. So the base level we have is licensing, and that's all about health and safety. Then next we talk more about education and development of the children. And then the third level is a national accreditation. And so there are several different options for that. One that's really popular is NACCE, which is the National Association of Education of Young Children, for the education of young children. And that's the one that we have followed. And I think that we had an excellent program before we went through that accreditation process, but the accreditation process did actually make us much better and made us think about things differently. And so there really is a benefit to having that. So those are some base levels of quality, but those visits and the visits and the observations only take place once a year or once every other year. And so they don't really tell the whole story. They tell you that they have done it at least once when the observer is there. But you also need to do some checking. You can't just rest on that alone. So the first thing that I would do is also then research them online and check their Google reviews. So I think that's a great way to get an overall feel about how people feel about the school. But you need to remember that there's always going to be negative reviews, and that's okay. Like if there's no negative review, it's almost suspicious. So why don't they even have any negative reviews? So but look at the overall rating. Do they have an overall positive rating? And what are the parents saying? If there are negative reviews, is there a theme? Or is it just somebody who had a really bad day and wrote a bad review? Is it just like a policy that they don't like, or are they just lashing out at the center? So another thing you can check is whether it's a good or a bad review. Did the administrator respond to it? Did they say thank you for the thing? Or did they say, I hear what you're saying, please come in so we can talk to you more about it? Those are all things, those are all ways that you can read between the lines. The other thing that you can do to check for safety is check their licensing history on the state's website. So just to caution you though, some of the wording in there, when you get citations, when the licensor comes to visit, they look for like everything that could be wrong, and you'll get citations. And it's very difficult to get a 0 citation visit because it's like they're really trying to find something that's not right. So they're written in very black and white terms. They're very legalistic sounding. So sometimes it seems a lot scarier than it actually is. So like, for example, you could get a something on the state's website could say indoor classroom space was not safe. Well, that could be leaving a package of diaper wipes on a table in a preschool room, or that's the same citation you would get as if you left hazardous material, like hazardous cleaning products on the floor in an infant room. Like that's the exact same thing that you get. So you have to make sure that you're kind of reading between the lines, looking for patterns. Are there lots of citations, or is it just a few? Is it paperwork that's the issue, or is it is it ratios that are out of line? That's a really important one. The ratios are a really important way to keep kids safe. And so for each age group, there are different levels of staff to kids that you can have. So that's another Really important thing to look at when you're reading through the state's reviews to see if they have the being out of ratio. The next thing that you should do is schedule a tour and just look at the center yourself and see if you think that it looks safe. Does it look clean? If you go into a classroom, do they have the appropriate number of staff to children there? Like, for example, if you go into a classroom that has more than 4 babies and there's only 1 staff person, I would ask why, because that, it's way different if someone just ran out to change a diaper and is coming right back than if somebody's late or didn't show up for the day. So that's something that to really pay attention to when you go to visit a classroom. I don't know about you, but when I was a young mom, I had a lot of voices that were telling me that daycare was not safe and that I should not trust anybody with my kids. And I was influenced by that sentiment for a really long time. But now I know that there are places where you can feel safe about leaving your child and knowing that they are going to be safe. So I want to share a small part of a long review from a mom. You could read the full one on our website if you wanted. I mean, on our Google My Business if you want to. Her child just left to go to kindergarten, but she said, sending my son to Mis Amigos has been like sending him to spend the day with 20 moms who love and adore him like I do. That's the best thing I could have asked for. And that's one of the best reviews that I could have got, because that is what that's how I want people to feel when they come to our school. So the next non-negotiable is, do they eat healthy food? And why is this important? Well, because we know that kids' brains are growing at a super rapid pace at this point, and eating healthy supports all that development that's going on in their brain. And they're also learning what kinds of foods they like and what they dislike. So this is a great time to expose them to a variety of foods. And you can do this in early childhood. You can really create some healthy habits that will hopefully transition with them to their adult life. If we push too hard, it can also lead to unhealthy food struggles later too. One thing I wanted to teach you is about serving sizes. I did not know this when I was a young mom, and as parents, we often worry about our kids not getting enough food. And so we let them eat things that we know aren't great for them because we're worried that they're going to starve. I am totally guilty of this too. And so I had a very picky eater. And so I'd be fine, like, yes, fine, just eat that granola bar. But the truth is they're not going to starve. They can wait another hour until it's dinner. So if you look at this slide, you can see what this little kid is having for lunch. And then on the left side of the slide, it shows you what, for his age, what a typical diet should look like for the entire day. That's not just for lunch. That's what his entire day should look like. So actually, if he ate everything that was on his plate, he would be filled for the entire day. He would get all of his nutritional needs met by just what's on that plate. So it's really important to remember that you don't have to say yes to all those little things that your kid wants to eat. They can wait till their next dinner time. And also that they can eat pretty small amounts of food and still get all the nutrition that they need. So again, so when you are looking at a center, research them online, ask them to mail you a copy of their snack and breakfast and lunch menus. Find out if they have a caterer or do they cook their meals at the center, and are those included in the tuition. And then when you tour, make sure that they're eating the same kinds of foods that they told you that they were eating. And, is this teacher sitting down at the tables and eating with the kids so they're learning healthy habits like having conversations while you eat? Or are the teachers putting pressure on the kids to eat? That's something that is in our, it's in the world's culture. It's not just our culture. It's not just a Hispanic culture, but parents want their kids to eat, and teachers often want their kids to eat. And so that's something that we have to work against and make sure that our kids are eating the right amount of foods and the right kinds of foods. I have a little gripe with a lot of centers out there claim that they serve only natural and organic foods. So to me, that alone is a little bit of a red flag, because I don't really know what that means to them. I think that if a provider claims that they have only natural and organic foods, then you should really make sure that their definition is the same as what your definition is, if that is important to you. It definitely might not be the same. I know from personal experience that it's very hard to source enough organic food and enough organic fresh food for that to be the only food that you serve in a center. It is, especially if you are trying to find foods that kids like, foods that are fresh and easy to prepare and will be served to a large group of people. That's really difficult to serve only organic foods. And so you just have to make that decision if that's important to you. And if it is important to you, make sure that they are thinking of it the same way that you are thinking of it. That's just my little soapbox. My third non-negotiable is, are the teachers happy? Do they seem happy? And what we know is that when people are well cared for, then they're better able to care for other people. It's like that airline example where they say, you know, put on your mask before assisting others, or they're telling us moms all the time, you have to take care of yourself. You have to take time for yourself, or else you're not going to be able to take a good, take care of your children as well as you might otherwise. And so it is important to make sure that as moms, you are taken care of, but also it's important that our teachers are well taken care of. And so that's my job. That is my job, to make sure that the teachers are taken care of so that they can in turn take care of the kids who are in their classrooms. Childcare is one of the lowest paid jobs in the United States. And so most do it because they love it. But others do it because they don't have any other options. But happy caregivers can directly impact the quality of care and education of your kids. So just like the other points I made, is that research them online. So check their Google reviews for former employees. Also check Indeed and Glassdoor. It usually comes from, well, it's supposed to be verified that it's coming from people who have actually worked there. And you want to just look for major stuff about staff culture. And, is it just one disgruntled employee, or is there a pattern? And check out their career page. What are the benefits that they offer their staff? Have they won any awards? What are the benefits that they use to try and retain their teachers? So that's what I would do ahead of time. And then when you go for the tour, get the feel for it yourself. When you go, how do the classrooms feel? What is the vibe? Are the teachers engaging with the kids in the classroom? If you're in a chaotic moment, which there are many chaotic moments during the day, how does the teacher handle that stress? If your child joins you on the tour, do they smile at them? Do they make the child feel welcome? Do they say hi? And then when you come in, ask the director about turnover. The industry standard is about 40%, but it's been much higher since the pandemic. It's starting to kind of level out now. But a high number can really indicate a problem. So ask the director if you're worried. Another question would be like when there is turnover, because that is the natural part. It is going to happen. Even if everybody's doing everything right, sometimes people have health issues, or sometimes they move away. And so there's going to be turnover. And so how do they handle it? Do they let parents know when it happens? Do they replace a staff member with someone who's already been in the classroom, or do they hire from outside? So what's the transition plan for the kids when this happens? And do they have policies that encourage staff to stay? But it's inevitable. There will be turnover, but we have to make the best of it. And if you're seeing a bunch of turnover over and over again, it might indicate another problem. This is another review that we got. A mom whose name is Sarah, she had 2 boys at our school. I've never had a single issue with any of our teachers or any of the teachers or staff. Each and every one of them genuinely loves being there and loves the kids. So those are the 3 things that I would say are the most important thing that you need to see and decide for yourself before making a decision. Is it safe? Do they serve healthy food? And do the teachers seem happy? One of the most common questions that I get is, how can I leave my child in someone else's hands? Can I ever go to work feeling confident? And the answer is yes, you can. We've been serving families just like yours for more than 20 years. And I know that fear of dropping off your most precious thing in the whole wide world. But the antidote to that fear is just knowing that you're choosing a caregiver that feels like family, and a place where your child can get the things that you aren't able to provide. And the right center can make all the difference. So the next thing to do, if you're interested in knowing more about Mis Amigos, the next step would be to schedule a life-changing tour at one of our centers. And this tour, you're going to meet our enrollment specialist, Fabi, who's on the call, and she will meet with you one-on-one and answer all your questions. You can bring your notebook full of all the things that you wanted to know, and we are happy to answer all of them. You'll visit the classroom and meet teachers and see them interacting with the kids firsthand, and you'll also meet the other team that supports the classroom and your family. So that's all I had. But so if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now.
Don't think we have any questions in the chat right now.
Okay. One question that I often get is, how do I choose between 2 good options? Say I've met all of those. I've met all of those criteria. They're both safe. They both have good food. Teachers are happy. How do I choose next? And I always tell parents, we are so blessed to live here in the Twin Cities with wonderful choices for childcare. There are certainly lots and lots of places in the United States that don't have the same options, the same level of care as we do here. And so it's a blessing to have the choice to choose between multiple good options. So just know that whatever you choose, it's going to be okay. And if you choose something and you don't like it, you can switch. It's not an all or nothing, and it's not it is an important decision, but you're not stuck with it forever, and you can make a change. So it really comes down to what's the best fit for your family. What do you want your kid to learn or experience before they go to kindergarten? What environment works best for your family, and what can you afford? So for me, it was Spanish immersion that I really, really wanted my kids to learn another language. But I also think Montessori is an awesome model, or Reggio. I think that there are really a lot of good options. And of course, I'm biased towards Spanish immersion, but that's not the only, in my opinion, it is not the only option. There are lots of good, amazing, great schools out there. Another question I get is, but childcare is so expensive. How can I afford this? And I would just say to that, it is expensive because it's intense. There's a lot of rules. There are a lot of things that we have to do. Our buildings are expensive. We're trying to support our teachers and pay them a living wage. We have food costs, we have supply costs. So yeah, it is expensive, and I feel your pain. But on the other hand, it is a short amount of time, and this time is crucial in your child's brain development. And so if there's anything that you can do to find, like if you really want to go to a school and you feel like it's out of your price range or budget, I would just encourage you to look at your budget. Look at your lifestyle. Are there things that you can do that are different? Begin, because it's a short time. It's 5 years. And early childhood is so important in the life of a child. Though the brain development in this time is more important than any other time in their whole life. And so I think that any money that you spend on early childcare will be returned to you over and over again, returned to the child over and over again. So just think about that. But also know that the most expensive childcare is not the best one, and the cheapest childcare is not the worst one. I have seen it. I have seen it go both ways. There are some really inexpensive preschool programs that are just amazing. So it really is about getting a feel for it, finding out what their core values are, and then making a decision that fits for your family. Well, if there's no more questions, I'm just going to leave you with this. I talked at the beginning about my boys. And so this first picture is them about the time that we started at Mis Amigos, 2004. And then the second picture is the two of them now. This was just from this past summer. My oldest went to the Air Force Academy, and he is now a pilot. That was his graduation ceremony. And then my second is just finished his physics degree and is getting his master's in quantum computing. So thank you for letting me brag about my kids for a little bit. I still believe that being the mom to Jake and Alex is my very most important role in the world. And I also believe that childcare allowed me to chase my dreams while also giving them experiences that I could not give them for myself. And you deserve to chase your dreams knowing that your child is safe, and you deserve to chase your dreams knowing your child is loved, and you deserve to chase your dreams knowing that your child's receiving a high quality education. So let's get you set up with the best childcare for your family, because you deserve to chase your dreams. Thank you for your time, and the best luck to you on this great adventure of parenthood. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Adios.